some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah, hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
Hello, folks. I'm Dan Hollifield, and welcome to Last Man Standing. If you did not watch it, you missed one hell of a stupid o'clock tonight. As always, it seems like every time I start a show, I'm saying stupid o'clock was really great. Well, stupid o'clock is always really great. I don't believe that we've had a well, I don't want to say stinker, but the clunker in all the shows that we've done since 2019, 2020. Um, they've all been well worth anybody's time to go and watch. But right now, you're stuck with me. And in order to make that bearable, here's Aunt Donna with me as well.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
I don't mind being stuck with you, Dan.
Oh, my.
Hey, Nick.
Hello, Nicholas. Yeah, I don't know if Nick is on the list to get an automatic link to the show. I mean, he's up rather late.
And there's Thesis.
Hey, Thesis. I should send both of them links just in case they're in the mood to stay up moderately late. I mean, it's not like we're going to be broadcasting till 5 o'clock in the morning, watching me sleep for 1 a.m. But anything is possible. But let me see here. I can do this here. Copy and go to the hey program cooperate. I mean, seriously. We shall do that, and now I've got to look up Nick. Oh wow, Nick's chat was right next to Thesis's chat, so there we go. if either of you are so inclined or both, you're more than welcome. Just, you know, when you need to go, you clock out, day is done. There's no reason to feel like you're obligated to either show up or stay for the entire show.
But when you
Um,
need to go, it's down the hall and to your left.
you'd be amazed at how often those directions are accurate. It's like every American house is designed so down the hall and to your left, unless you're in the living room, and when it's down the hall and to your right. Um, hey, whatever reference points work for you, uh, there you go. No matter where you go, there you are. Um,
Hmm. Unless you're like Uncle Carl, and then it's down 4 halls and to his right.
okay, as long as he wipes
Only
out the
3.
sink after he washes his hands. I mean, I'm very OCD about cleaning water droplets out of the bathroom sink. My wife is going, "That's weird, Dan."
No,
And I
it's
go,
not.
"Yeah, but you know, you like to do the same thing with a stainless steel sink in the kitchen. She goes, "That's different." Well, no, it's not.
Hmm. I'm usually not OCD, especially about cleaning things. But I go into a public restroom, and why are the paper towels on the wall across from the sink instead of on the wall beside the sink?
And they always tear instead
And
of being able to pull out of the dispenser.
well, I don't usually have that problem, but why do people not get their paper towels and then go wash their hands? No, they have to wash their hands and then drip across the floor. And then they don't clean the soap out of the sink. And I'm like, no, when I'm a ninja, you can't tell that I ever use that sink
Mm.
by the time I'm done.
I will admit that when we have had visitors to the house, and I am the next person to use the facilities in our lone bathroom. I wish we had two. Hollifield's law of household design: always plan one extra bathroom more than the number of women that live in the house.
Well, we have 3.5, so and it's just me, so
Hello,
we're okay.
Teresa. Let's see. Let's go through
Hey, Teresa, long time no see.
the comments here. Nick saying hi. Thesis is saying hi. You're answering them. Thesis is going, oh, yep, accurate direction to his restroom. And Teresa, thank you for being here. I hope that I hope you have fun. And take that however you wish. Um, most folks with a grain of salt, but if you know us, and you might need a little bit of pepper or Tabasco sauce. It doesn't matter as long as you're happy. Um, batteries not included. Um, I am really going out on left field here, and I probably should go to the not the green room sign because I know I'm going to need it in a minute. Um,
I'm being good.
yeah, but I probably won't be. Um, I have a real problem with behaving responsibly, but I don't have any problem with being good.
Mm, Yeah, you're pretty responsible.
Yeah, I know. It's a curse. It's a curse. Uh, Teresa, how's retirement? Wait a minute. I almost clicked on delete there. How is retirement? Retirement is fantastic. As soon as I get my first pension check, I'll be relaxed a whole lot more. But I've been able to be extraordinarily more productive than I had been any time in the last 46 years I was at work. I'm I'm already starting on 2 months ahead on Aphelion. I've never done that before. Usually with Aphelion, I'm doing things like a day and a half before the upload. Now I'm a month and a half ahead and already sent out notices to the writers to go, hey, uh, I know I just sent out the notices for March, but I'm working on April and you're in. Um, and April doesn't seem to mind. Um,
She always was that kind of girl.
hey, now when it comes to May, we will see. She's usually more conservative. Uh,
I don't know. My mama's middle name was May, and I would never call her conservative.
I do remember the stories. Evidently, she was a very adventurous lady.
That's one
So
way of putting it. I
that's the
mean,
politest way I could figure it out. Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, look, I take after my mama.
the world is doomed, but it'll be a fun ride.
Hmm.
Uh, Definitely an e-ticket. Do they still have those? I mean, I haven't been to Disney anything in decades.
Mm. It's been about 10 years since I have, and I don't remember how the tickets were.
Well, my sister and her family go at least every other year, if not once a year. Depends on their finances, which is
Hmm.
perfectly understandable. But I haven't been since it was a free thing that I got to do in high school because, hey, I was in the marching band. And somehow or another, the band director got us an invitation to be in a parade.
Hmm.
So we went down there for free.
Well, I can't really say I've ever been to Disney World because I usually go to Epcot. I love Epcot.
Hmm. I can understand why. It's a very amazing place. Um,
Yeah.
Seeing as how that was back about 1974, 1975, and it's now 2024. I can only remember the edited highlights of that particular trip. The parade was fun. We did very well. Audience received us quite well. We got applause. Um, I sat down after dark to watch fireworks and wound up at a security gate somewhere trying to find the bus to go back to the hotel, which the bus had left 2 hours earlier
Uh
and
oh.
without me. And the security guard called the hotel, and um, I got a ride in a white Cadillac convertible that Elvis would
Ooh.
have beat somebody up to get his hands on. And everybody made fun of me because I had this habit of getting distracted by shiny things and not making the bus on time all through high school. Um, hey, um, when the world is born, when the world is actually so boring most of the time, and your imagination is so vitally active and entertaining, and you find something that is not in your imagination, but is real and live and just
Hmm.
as entertaining, you go, hey, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy this. Uh, y'all can ignore it at your own risk, but this is special. So I would, and more than occasionally,
Yeah.
I wound up being late to get on the bus.
I've been to Epcot 3 times. Twice was free, and the time Carl and I went, we had to pay. So I guess if I want to get in free, I better quit going with Carl. The first time I was in my 20s, and my folks wintered in Florida, and They were staying with my foster brother in Orlando, and my boss is like, "I just saw where a round trip to Florida was only $99. Why don't you take a week off and go see your folks?" And not being the fool my mother raised, I took him at his word and I flew into Orlando and surprised them.
Okay.
Well, it turns out one of Rich's neighbors was a security guard at Epcot. Well, all the three. And when he heard I was coming in, he said, "You think she'd like to go to Disney World or Epcot?" And my folks were like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure she would." Said, "Okay, you have her down there such and such a time Thursday morning, and meet me at this gate." And he let us in through the security gate for free, and that was the first time I got to see Disney. It was wonderful, and I guess it ticked his neighbors off because he had never offered to do that for any of the other people in the neighborhood.
They weren't special enough.
No.
Yeah. I'm going to flash this message from Dawn back up here again.
Mhm.
She's going to take the rest of the night off to prepare for the convention this weekend. So
Mhm. She's got a long way
that's
to drive.
that is perfectly understandable. Um,
Probably won't
is
see her
she
tomorrow
going to
night.
be at the hotel or is she going to be at a B and B?
She found a very well, reasonably priced B&B, was cheaper than the hotel.
I hope it's everything that she needs it to be, and more besides. Um,
I think she's staying there till Monday morning, so she can rest after the con, and because she's
hey,
gonna be going for a long day.
if you don't stay for the Dig Dog party on Sunday night, you're not conventioning correctly. Uh, and actually, Anacrocon did not do a Dead Dog party on Sunday night for many years until I talked it up so much that the new generation of con directors go, "That's actually a good idea." And I go, "Yeah, well, the really fun cons all do this.
Hmm.
Um, you know,
Well, Nick
stay
has a
till
point though.
uh event is not a hotel. Uh, it is
It's
in
in a
a
small
small
building.
building near the park.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfectly good, and probably given the demographics of the vendors, the attendees, and everybody else, that's probably the best solution right there anyway. Um, I'm sure there are affordable hotels nearby, and as Dawn found out, a much
I'm
more
sorry.
affordable B&B. Um,
Nick, is there even a hotel or motel in Fowler? I mean,
hey,
we're talking about a little bitty town, about what, 200?
last time I went to a family reunion, Lindsay and I stayed at a Red Roof Inn. Now
Nothing wrong with the
this is
Red Roof Inn,
this is even cheaper than a Motel 6. They didn't have anything really deluxe.
but
The
they're nicer
room,
than a Motel 6.
the rooms were clean. The staff was very, very attentive and thankful we were there. Um, we had to, we had to try and keep them from cleaning the room every 5 minutes, because they didn't have that many guests overnight. And we stayed there for an entire Thursday through Sunday. Checked out on a Monday morning to drive home. Believe me, you do not want to drive through Knoxville on a Sunday morning unless it's very, very early, because there's a lot of folks headed for church and they use the super highways as if they were back roads. Um, you wouldn't think there were that many damn churches in there, but East Tennessee churches, yeah, there are that many.
Oh, I can
Oh,
believe
and
it.
Richie's with us now. How
Hey,
you
Rich.
doing?
Well, I no, just a bathroom. Um, ouch.
I know the feeling. Um, Misty doing all right? I mean, I know she just has got home from work.
She is
I
sore
didn't think so.
as all hell. They had a busy day. She had a bad feet swelling day, and
Oh,
was on her feet all day because she's so damn short that she can't sit and do her job because um, the, the desk is too high.
Oh, darn.
So she can sit when she's not checking anybody in, but if she's checking anybody in, it's like that "Where's the Beef" commercial from the '80s, where you just barely see the top of the person's head.
mm-hmm. Nick says, sadly, there's no hotel nearby. Well,
Yeah, that was
um,
a little bitty place.
hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Didn't say
There's
that.
nothing wrong with that. I know you didn't. I'm just adding my own editorial. Uh,
Oh, so I was off by about 2,000 people.
oh, okay. Fowler has a population of 2,328 people, and that's on a good day.
Salute.
Yes, I have seen that show before.
Oh, I had a laugh.
Although Hee Haw did honor small towns in Appalachia that only had a population of like 36.
Hmm.
Went to my back doctor yesterday for follow up from the burn procedure that was going on, and I'm looking at the TV and I'm like, is that Petticoat Junction? I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Petticoat Junction. And then I get called back, and I didn't have a chance to find out while it's still out there. But of course, it's something that they've just got on loop for just like going to Prime and just play and just keep playing the episodes until whatever. Very often when I go in there, it's like Laverne and Shirley. But when I came back out, I'm sitting there and I hear them mention Hooterville.
That's a
I'm like,
clue.
okay. Yep, that's Petticoat Junction.
It's either that or Green Acres.
No, it was Petticoat Junction. Green Acres, I would have caught right off the bat. I used to watch that all the time.
Oh, my family watched both. And Beverly Hillbillies, although I did hear my parents complain when they went to color instead of the black and white. I'm going, y'all didn't complain when I complained about Lost in Space going to full color instead of black and white and stopped being serious sci-fi and turned into Dr. Smith
Camp.
and the Robot and occasional smart remarks by Will Robinson, Goofy Comedy Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I almost got into an internet discussion with somebody's going, "Oh, I hate all those people that prefer the first season black and white Lost in Space because it was serious sci-fi. I'm only in it for the comedy." And I'm going, well, yeah, that's
All
why
right.
the second and third season exists.
That's like I was in a Star Trek room once, and somebody complained that the original Star Trek was so campy, and my reaction was, I thought it was supposed to be. That's why I liked it.
It's not Masterpiece Theater.
Yeah.
No, that's Doctor Who. Masterpiece Theater acting on a Dark Shadows budget. This is why I'm still trying to adjust to Disney throwing money at Doctor Who, and I'm going, oh, those are
Mhm.
nice special effects. Um, hey, we shall see. The real test of, well, any show is the quality of the scripts and how engaging it is for the core audience that came along from other venues to enjoy the new venue and the new shows. We'll see how it goes. Doctor Who's been a bit contentious for about 5 years now. I do know some folks that stopped watching after David Tennant left, after Matt Smith left, could not stand Peter Capaldi, definitely could not stand Jodie, even though she's a fine actress, and are not really enthused about Ncuti Gatwa. And I'm going, it's Doctor Who. Hang around for about 3 years and it'll change again, all right?
Uh, Matt
Yeah.
Smith was only around for 3 years. Felt like more like 102.
Yeah.
I'm,
Oh, yeah, Nick.
Three
You're
years has pretty much been uh, the lifespan of someone playing the Doctor since Tennant. Tennant did 3. Um, uh, Smith did 3. Capaldi did 3. Jodie technically did 3.
mm-hmm.
yeah,
The Dark Shadows was grand.
but
Well,
yeah,
actually, just about everybody but Tom Baker did 3 years and done. Tom Baker did not want to leave. And matter of fact, even when he left, he did not want to leave, but that was a tactical misstep trying to get a raise, and they go, okay, bye bye. He threatened to quit if they didn't give him more money, and they go, okay. Um, we got
he,
the Scottish guy. No, we've got the guy from All Creatures Great and Small. He'll take up your slack, and then Sylvester McCoy after Peter Davison. Of course, David Tennant got the last laugh, uh, marrying the daughter of
Peter
His
Davison's
idol.
daughter, yeah.
yeah, and it's that's got to be
That
one of those things where uh, I'm the doctor. I'm married to the doctor's daughter. My father-in-law is a doctor. Um,
that has to be a real mind trip because yeah, he was saying that Davison was his favorite,
well,
and it's
Mhm.
yeah,
like
yeah. Um,
But leads to the best answer ever to a
yes,
question.
I was just about to bring that up. Go for it.
Peter Davidson was asked what the best thing a fan ever gave him, and he said grandchildren. Now that's a
Uh,
fan.
Nick, I've got to disagree. Eccleston was not robbed. He was mistreated. There, he could have gone on for another 2 years after his original year, but for some reason there was
there
friction
are
among
a
the.
lot of not so happy feelings between him and Davies' crew.
Yes,
In
exactly.
fact, he said he'd be willing to come back and do some more Doctor Who stuff if they sacked the entire showrunner and staff.
And it would be worthwhile because Eccleston did a fantastic job.
Hmm.
I was very sad, but before his first episode ever aired, the fans knew he was only going to be there for a year because it had already been filmed, the friction had already happened. Eccleston had gone, screw this, I'm going home, and that's the way it was. I would love to see him come back for uh, several multi doctor stories, but if he's not treated fairly, not being respected,
I don't blame him.
I do not blame him for staying away whatsoever. And it's not going to harm my appreciation of what he did, what he accomplished in the role. I mean, he did pretty much as an actor single-handedly bring it back to audiences that had missed it for a long, long time. And that's not to undercut the production staff. It's not to undercut Paul McGann, who is also a fantastic actor in the part, but just for that movie and a couple of shorts. Um,
Yeah, McGann was really screwed.
yeah, but um, he and Colin Baker and I think Eccleston too has had an amazing run on Big Finish audio. Uh, well, really, almost everybody that's been um, working with Big Finish has had even more stories than in audio than had ever been filmed, and proved that they were damn well suited for the job. Um, and they keep going on with more and more stuff. River Song has their own set of Big Finish. Um, Ace has their own set of Big Finish stories. Um, um, Leela, um, seriously, if you are ever in Doctor Who and you get asked to do Big Finish audios, you do it because you know this is going to be not painful and it's going to be well received, and you get to flesh out your character even more than you ever had a chance to do on camera. The Big Finish deserves a whole lot of praise, even though audio is not my preferred media for consumption. Um, which sounds weird, knowing that I've done a couple of the for that story that Nick prompted me to write, um, and evidently I did a good job with that too. Um, One day I'll have to revisit doing audio stories, but not necessarily as the same character. And no, I'm not working for Big Finish. Um, they they don't need a southern redneck voice doing anything. Um,
You never know.
hey, well, if they do, Barkus is willing. Yes, that was a literary reference. Some people are going to be looking that up on Google right now, and I'm going, you're not going to understand it unless you see the movie, and I mean the original movie. Um, I do think Peter Davison came into his own after leaving Doctor Who when he did the Campion mysteries for.
Mm, those are wonderful.
Oh, yes, they are. There's not enough of them, but the ones that exist are absolutely amazing. And yes, to answer anybody's questions, I always saw him as the Doctor assuming an identity of just this guy. Because I don't believe I could even watch All Creatures Great and Small without seeing Davison as not admitting to being the Doctor. But still, you should appreciate each role as a separate thing in and of itself. It's unfair to the actor and how much work they put into it to develop these characters, to find the voice for these characters and portray them for however long the show goes on. Um, it's just not fair to typecast them or typecast anybody for anything. Um,
That's true. Um, the first thing I saw David Tennant in after he was the Doctor was a movie called The Bad Samaritan.
mm,
Yes. He
Oh,
is a really good, really evil bad guy.
yes.
he can be. He can be. There's a
And I found myself like thinking, oh, he is even more hot now than he was as the Doctor. We women love our bad boys.
It's a typical Donna right there. Yep. Um, Notice I didn't put the entire gender in there, just you personally. Um, there was some. Well, I hesitate to call it a movie because I think it was several episodes of a short series, maybe like one season, called the Air Zone Solution, and it had a lot of Doctor Who alumni in there. And Davison was, as I remember, the main villain. Um, Next best thing to a serial killer that the BBC would portray.
Hmm.
God, it was absolutely gripping, really, once you can get past your preconceptions of, oh, this Doctor Who actor and this Doctor Who actor and this Doctor Who actress and this, no, it was its own thing, had no connection to Doctor Who other than the cast. And maybe a scriptwriter. Um, there were other things. Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant did an entire series of shows called The Stranger, which was basically if Doctor Who did not have the TARDIS and was stuck wandering around as a damn near supernatural detective. Um, there were also things that built off of um, Cybermen mythos, um, the Autons mythos. Uh, there was one that had Susan. Crap, I could remember Carol Ann Ford as a lead character. Also had um, Doctor Who villains Sontarans and the Rutons. And if you're a Doctor Who fan, you know Sontarans and Rutons have been in a war for a long time. Uh, and it was basically one of those uh, stuck in a lighthouse with a monster sort of stories. Um, that was excellent. That was absolutely, especially since um, Carol Ann Ford found herself um, gravely typecast after her time in Doctor Who. I mean, she was in Day of the Triffids playing a blind girl, but despite how many tickets that sold, she wasn't offered an awful lot of work after that, which is an absolute shame. Um, she should have been working constantly after she already proved she could do anything. Um, what else? Oh, well, no. Now I'm thinking of comedy shorts that don't fit into that particular theme, even though they were fun to watch. But so many different things. Uh, I believe the one that had the Autons in it was basically uh, not exactly unit, but partially could have been if you squinted really hard. Uh, oh God, now I can't remember her name. Aphasia is kicking my butt tonight. Really, I should be able to remember the lady's name. I mean, she was
That's okay.
she was a John Pertwee companion, scientific advisor. She was before Katie Manning, before Sarah Jane Smith, and
That's a
oh,
lot of territory. Just
I know,
keep
but
telling your story and it'll come to you.
well, basically, there was like 3 episodes that dealt with Autons, and she was basically her character, same name from the unit stories with John Pertwee, and it was all the Doctor wasn't there. It was all focused on Autons,
Hmm.
and That was an excellent set of episodes. The ones I think they had to change the name of the Cybermen to something that was Cyber something, but not Cybermen,
Mhm.
for a totally different series. Um, I've got I've got this stuff recorded on the hard drive here, but I'm not turning that bugger on and looking through 10 gigabytes, um, or no, 10 terabytes of files of stuff, um, just because I can. Uh,
Yeah.
well, let's see. External drive I offered to bring to Hallowcon and let Joe Dog pick stuff off of it for uh, the uh, the movie night computer set up in the breakfast bar there at the hotel, and just let stuff play endlessly. And he thought, well, um, he'd already had things planned out that were public domain, and there I had all this stuff that wasn't necessarily public domain. Somehow or another, I managed to get my hands on it. Um,
So Nick says Day of the Triffids
Day of
was
the
the name,
Trippids was amazing. Yes,
and is
that was yeah.
Carolyn John the
Good
name you're trying to think of?
Carol and John. Yeah, yes, but I'm trying to remember a character's name. Um, Day of the Triffids is a book by John Wyndham. Um, I do believe. Um, the book is scary enough. The movie was really scary, even though it was uh, very mild hammer films sort of thing on uh, from a BBC studio, or maybe even horror films. I don't know. I can't remember the all the details nowadays. It's been years since I've watched either one. Um, Now is the time that we would actually we'd actually need our resident sci-fi movie expert to show up, but haven't talked to Mr. Sterling in a few weeks now. But should be about time for him to put another episode of his show out on YouTube. Look forward to it. Always look forward to it. Um,
Liz?
Liz, no, no, yeah, I started to leap to Sarah Jane's actual the actress's name, but no, yeah, you're right. Liz Shaw. Liz Shaw. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. I remembered it about the same time I saw your post. Yeah, uh, yeah. She was the one in the trilogy of Autumn stories. Um, might not have been the highest quality stuff, but it was right on up there with Doctor Who quality, which is basically, as I said before, masterpiece theater acting on a Dark Shadows budget. Although some of these were masterpiece theater acting on a Captain Kangaroo budget. So, you know, didn't have an awful lot of money, but they did the best they could with what they had. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
got
Do you want
to.
to hear what I did last night?
What did you did last night besides Carl?
Yeah. We missed the Burning in Love because we went to this seminar about
Mm.
self-publishing, which turned out to be I mean, she had it all wrong. But anyway, before then, Um, we went to Benny's, and I don't know if you've ever been to Benny's, but their humidor is always locked if no one's inside it, and there always has to be one of their people in there with you, which I can understand because you can hide a couple cigars anyway.
Yeah.
But as I came in, I had glanced their clearance rack is right by the front door, but I couldn't stop because I made a beeline for the ladies' room and told Carl I'd see him in the humidor. Well, I go back up and I pick up a couple of things, and their security guard is standing right there, which is a little unusual, but big strapping guy, full beard, and I picked up some alcohol filled chocolates and alcohol filled uh, fruit goodies. And tomorrow I will not only be drinking Fireball, but I will be eating Fireball.
Okay.
And he's kind of looking at what I've got in my hands as I start by him. And I, well, I told him I just made a quip about needed to stock up for the show Friday night. And he goes, oh, can I ask what kind of show? So we got to talking about the Green Room and Uncle Carl's Secret Humor Group. And if he remembers too, he's supposed to uh, contact me on Facebook, and I left him my indiecd.com card so he would remember who to look for. But I must have talked with
Like
him.
anybody could ever forget you.
I must have talked to him a good 15, 20 minutes, something like that. So, I go off to go to the humidor to get my cigars. And I go in there, and Carl's like, he's already got his cigars picked out. And he's like, I was wondering where you were. We're like, I was up talking to the security guard. Didn't you see? He had a full beard. And Carl just shook his head, and the young man behind the counter just kind of looks at Carl and looks at me and like, oh, is shit gonna go down or something?
It's okay, kid. I'm with Rasputin. Uh, oh, Carl's going to get me for that one.
We saw a guy. Where were we? I forget where we. Oh, it was the comic book uh, con at Marketplace Mall where Brian and Michaela were a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Saw this guy, and I told Carl, I said, Rasputin didn't die. He's still alive. And, I mean, dressed in street clothes, but the long curly black hair, the beard, everything. This man looked like every picture I have ever seen of Rasputin. Like, that's a little scary.
Yeah.
It wasn't cosplaying or anything. This was
Just his chosen look.
just look. Like,
Oh, and Nick is right. Um, Death by green bubble wrap and that one quarry. No, there were at least 7 quarries that they used, but I don't remember more than one that had a cave. You're absolutely right. But the green bubble wrap, yeah, It's amazing how many monsters they made out of bubble wrap back during the classic era. Um, it was brand new back then, so nobody knew what it was until it was old hat.
Mhm.
Oh, Ark in Space, yeah. Um, the Tom Baker story that where they started with the bubble wrap because it was brand new then. Um, if you've ever seen Buckaroo Banzai, you see lots of things that they've been able to make out of bubble wrap. You go, could you not afford cardboard?
No,
Um,
the bubble wrap was cheaper,
yeah, really. Ah,
squishier too.
yeah, and it still looks alien to this day. Um, bubble wrap was originally invented to be a low budget form of insulation.
I'm not
And it actually
surprised.
works. It actually works as such, but because the bubbles are so small and the plastic is so thin, it doesn't work all that well. You got to have lots of it layered to make it work as an effective insulation. And
It's not good cat deterrent either.
it's also flammable. Um, which is not an excellent selling point. Uh, but for
Yeah.
keeping things from getting broke when you're shipping it from point A to point B to point Z, um, it works really well. Um, I've ordered stuff both from Etsy and from private sellers that arrived thoroughly coated in bubble wrap. I damn near had to get a chainsaw out to get through the plastic tape to unwrap this little jewelry box sort of thing over just for one ring that came in a 2 by 3 foot cardboard box completely enveloped in bubble wrap about 8 inches deep.
Mhm.
I mean,
That's how
that
my
was not
cigars
going to get
come.
broke. That was not going to get broke. Um,
That's how my cigars come.
some of these boxes, I swear, you could throw them out of a 747 in mid-flight, and they'd land on the ground, and whatever was inside would never know that it
Mhm.
suffered a shock. Um, very useful stuff. Can be annoying when you're trying to unwrap it. Um,
Yeah.
but that's life. Uh,
And then they use that clear tape on it,
yeah,
and you can't find the end of it, so you can pull the tape off. So you're
yeah.
trying to pull it apart. Yeah.
Story of my life. So many things I have encountered that were such a difficulty to unwrap.
Well, you didn't say that last night.
Well, I didn't want to speak on camera. Oh, Richie, we needed a riposte right about then. Uh,
I think he's ignoring us.
I'm not ignoring you. I am trying to figure out color palettes for something.
Mm.
the 3D printer?
For painting some prints coming off the 3D printer.
Okay. Yeah. And that does
And
take concentration. If you choose the wrong palette, it ain't gonna look like what you wanted it to look like.
well, yeah, I actually found a cell of animation because basically I'm going to be painting. Let me get that out so I can actually see what I'm showing you folks. So I primed it. So originally it was this color.
My friend,
Mhm.
my friend Totoro.
Yep, my neighbor Totoro. So
Oh, neighbor.
what I'm doing
Excuse me.
is actually I think there's one version of it that came out as my friend Totoro, and then another one that was my neighbor Totoro. I think the my friend Totoro might have been the one that was trying to be the exact
Opposite.
translation.
Oh,
Mm.
And then they came back later and renamed it my
My
neighbor.
neighbor. Yeah.
But so I actually have these printed out in. Oh, because they're over here because they're primed. Sure. So, like in the cartoon, you've got your large, you've got your medium size, you got your small size. So I
oh,
actually have them set so that they come off the plate in sets of 3. So I'm actually looking at the color palette to see. Oh, sorry about that. Middle size Totoro. So I'm looking at the color palette to try to. So I found a picture of all 3 of them, and I found a tool online where I can hover over the colors, and it's going to give me the hex code for it. And with the hex code for it,
That's
I can
useful.
find the RGB code and the actual name of it as well.
nice.
So I'm trying to do that so I can try to figure out as close as possible to actually getting a set of that painted up for Crow, another one for Misty, another one for Brittany.
Nice.
Now, is there a specific paint that you need to use so it doesn't melt the plastic it was constructed from?
Like somebody
Well,
else's.
this is a latex primer that's on top of it. So as long as it's not actually touching the plastic, it doesn't really matter as long as it's not going to melt the latex. Because that's the point of primers is that barrier between.
Yes.
But
Okay.
the thing is, the paints I'm using are latex-based acrylic.
Okay.
So, it shouldn't be an issue. I had a lot because another one of the things that I'm doing is I was talking about it last night on The Burning is Love. So I've got like in the late, the mid 90s, I bought the full size statue of this. It is, well, you'll see the details a little better if I show you
Yeah.
in unprimed. So I've got the full size one of this, which is 8 inches from the base, well, a little over 8 inches from the base to the very tip of the wing. So this weekend, I actually spent time learning to use the digital scanner I bought that was part of the package with my 3D printer to scan that gargoyle and then print out smaller copies of the gargoyle. So this was the first attempt at a print.
Oh,
Mortimer at 10% height. This was the very second print I came off. That is 30% of Mortimer's height. So, and then I printed out a batch of 4 of them. So Misty's got one, Crow's got one, Brittany's got one. And then I'm painting this one, and I'm going to slap a small Velcro patch on the bottom of them, and the other side of that Velcro patch going on my dashboard. Because he is going to be my plastic Jesus.
nice.
But I had to laugh because Crow's like, well, what if it's really hot in the car? Isn't it going to melt? It's a UV curing resin. Sunlight will just make it harder if it does anything to it at all. Not to mention that there's going to be paint on it, so it's going to be protected from any further UV radiation because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, didn't you make a couple when you first got the 3D printer that were translucent and you could shine a light up through them? Or am I remembering somebody else?
So the first translucent thing I did, where is my... It's over there, and I'm too lazy to go get it. So we use cell phones because we can.
Okay.
So the first thing I did was I printed a Gengar.
Yes.
Now, without light shining through it, it looks almost purpley brown. But that light goes up through it, and it is a beautiful blue-purple see-through. So I also have an itty-bitty Totoro in that. I have a cat bus in that.
Ooh, yeah.
And I've got another flavor of the cat bus that actually has Totoro writing on top. Now, it's actually the large Totoro holding a small Totoro. That small Totoro is supposed to be holding a stem of a leaf, with the leaf being over them like an umbrella. But printing them down at this tiny, that stem was just way, way too flimsy and broke.
Yep.
It wouldn't have held up the weight of the leaf anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can do this one full size properly because of the size of my build plate. I might need a build plate that's a little larger so that it be itself a little larger so that it could actually have that stem. Now, granted, this was maybe... No, actually, no, I take that back because this was actually scaled up. But this is maybe probably 20% of the size my build plate can do, I think. Maybe 25. And that's only limited by the length of the cat bus. If the cat bus was shorter, I could probably get that sized up a little bit larger itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like a full-size Mortimer, and for the record, when I say Mortimer, I'm talking about him. So the first one I bought was one that looked like this, with his wings tucked in like that. I named him Mortimer J. Cincinnati. And then a few weeks later, I went back and I saw another one that was almost just like this, but instead of that kind of more sad face, he's kind of got more of a happy face, and his wings are extended out. That one is named, sorry, my apologies, Mortimer J. Sidney is his name. The other one's name is Cincinnati. I'm sorry, Mortimer, I didn't mean to misname you. But anyways, yes, I talked to my gargoyles. And I have for longer. I've talked to them for longer than most of my children have been alive. But so the actual model that this is off of is a copyrighted work. It was actually sold in stores. So I can't sell any of these or anything like that. But I can still print them out for personal use, and they can't do a damn thing about it, especially since I can't find them anymore. If I could actually find them, I would actually be buying them. But since I couldn't find them, I actually spent a hell of a lot more money to buy a 3D scanner to scan him so I can make more of him.
Understood.
this has been the major impetus of me buying a 3D scanner and a 3D printer for the longest time. More than anything else, is I wanted more copies of Mortimer. Because I actually wanted a copy of him I could stick to my dashboard and stuff like that and take with me and stuff. But
And Thesis says he had a Buddha velcroed to the dash in both Fox's Buick and his Pontiac, and he thinks it saved his life at least once, which we are very grateful for. Back when I was in college, my PE coach somehow got hold of a motorcycle that someone had crashed and lived to walk away from. We disassembled that sucker. I think he wanted to rebuild it. And under the seat was a St. Christopher, which I still have to this day because, St. Christopher works whether you believe in it or not. Perfect definition of not only paganism but Catholicism. If it works, it works. Don't question it. Just accept and continue on with your life on that basis. But I thought, from the remains of this motorcycle, whoever it was that wrecked it and caught it on fire was really lucky to be able to walk away unscathed. And here we take the seat off of the frame, and tucked underneath the seat is this really, really pretty St. Christopher. And I'm going, I'll be having that. And somehow or another, it's been around for decades now. Unless my first wife got rid of it in a pawn shop, which I do not know because I don't know where it is. It might be under my car seat. It might be tucked away in some hidden chamber of my wallet, or it may be under the seat of my motorcycle, which has been sitting in the woods for 30 years, slowly turning into one solid block of rust because the mount for the handlebars and the front forks for the front wheel was cracked, and I had no idea when that was going to give way and wind up with me quoting a country music song, "You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel." Hey, I didn't make it up. I just acknowledged it was a truly horrible pun that should not ever die. No, for my own personal safety, that bike got parked. The replacement parts for that were like a month's pay back then. I could just imagine what it is now. So, that bike is pretty much going to be, well, if we get a flood, it's going to be a coral reef. But no, to get a working motorcycle, I'd have to buy another one because this one would be too expensive to rebuild. I'd love to have one. Lindsay says I can have a three-wheeler, but not a two-wheeler because for some strange reason she wants to keep me alive, and I'm going.
Mm,
Hey,
yeah.
it takes all kinds.
I think with all your injuries from the accident, though, you probably wouldn't be able to ride your bike
mm,
anymore.
uh,
Not comfortably.
well, not that accident, but all the rest of the accidents I've had since then. Yeah, it would be very painful to
Hmm.
pilot a motorcycle anymore, especially on long trips where you just naturally slump and ruin your posture, as Strax would say. Um, and if you didn't get that reference, sorry, Doctor Who, look it up. Um, Google is your friend. Uh,
Sometimes.
yeah.
If your Google Foo is powerful enough, yes, it is.
Uh, th- The thing about Google is it's not, can it find the answer to your question? It is, can you frame the question in a refined enough manner for the answer you need to be easily found?
Hmm.
You got to learn how to ask the right question. Uh, which you
And you got
can,
to learn to be able to dial it in once you start asking the question to get to the exact right question.
hmm exactly. Modify your questions, keep on hitting enter, and sooner or later, you'll get to the answer you need. Might not be the answer you want, but it'll be the answer that best fits the question that you have been able to ask. Mm, uh, and now I has a hurt. Um, I went all day without uh, my neck bothering me whatsoever. And as soon as I get on the show, evidently my posture is not optimal. Um, and now the pain's coming back, and I don't want to upset my stomach with a bunch of painkillers. I don't want to ruin my liver or my kidneys with a bunch of painkillers. Um, might be time for a shot of grandma's rheumatism medicine.
Hmm.
Well, you've all been at this an hour and 19 minutes. I came late to the party. Um, but, if you need to call it, you know,
No, I don't
there,
really need to
there's
call it.
no dishonor in tapping out.
I just need to go to the kitchen for a few minutes. If y'all can entertain yourselves for about maybe 5 minutes or so, I'll even um, make a pass at going down the hall and to the left. And after this much beer, you think I would really need to go down the hall to the left. Um, I shall return. You have been warned. Oh, and Thesis is here, and I didn't even hear him come in.
If you
Damn it!
just,
How long have you been sitting there waiting on me to quit waffling on?
I don't know. I haven't been paying attention.
All right. Y'all are in charge. I'll be right back.
Yeah, Dan's the only one that can hear the ping when someone comes up, so it's usually a good idea to say, "Hey, I'm here" in the private chat, so one of us can go, Dan, are you hearing things?
Well, he's probably always hearing things, but you know.
Well, there's that.
But yeah, I've also got some translucent blue over there and some translucent green that I would really love to see what he's going to look like in those.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been mucking around with the slicing programs and stuff like that, sizing them up, sizing them down. So this is the first one at 30% that I pulled off. I marked a little P on the bottom of him for prototype, just so that I can keep him apart, so I don't, you know, he's got the special place. He's the firstborn. But of course, I've also got another one that I printed out sitting on a can of Monster over by my work monitor.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Dragons and gargoyles. If I could decorate my entire place in dragons and gargoyles, I would. But like I said, sadly, that Universal Statuary is the name of the company that put out the original Mortimer.
Mm-hmm.
And Cincinnati. It's I wanted to give a shout out to them in case somehow something got back to them. I really do love their work. They've got some really beautiful work. I wish I could find more of these, but it's Universal's Statuary. It was 1993. Now the text didn't come off in the scan, but it is still on the original. They are copyrighted. But this was model 039, and the one with the wings out was actually an earlier model 036. So those, if you see those anywhere, just admire them in their full size. They are very, very beautiful statue.
Oh, bet.
And my hats off to the sculptor.
Our house is 3 stories high, made of stucco, so it's stone, and it's gray. And I would love if on the corner we could have had a tower with gargoyles sitting up on top or along the eaves.
When we still lived at the house, I was telling Misty what I want to do is I want gargoyle. I want to eventually put gargoyles on every corner of the house, and I want to actually have through the eyes of the gargoyle. I want actual cameras, so they actually are watching out for the property.
That would be neat.
She's like, "No,
Yeah.
we can't do that." I'm like, "No,
Yeah, we do.
If we get the money, yeah, we can. We will. And then another thing I wanted to do is because she likes, big cats and stuff like that, I wanted to get her, statues of tigers for either side of the door, and then have like a speaker built into the mouth of the tiger, so that if someone comes up and rings the doorbell, who's there? And this was before Ring became a thing, so I just thought it would be cool to have, just a talking tiger next to the door being like, "Who are you? What do you want?"
Or if it's somebody you know, they just purr.
Or if it's my in-laws.
I'm great at coming up with impossible ideas. This is what I do.
But back to what Donna was saying there for a second. You guys are taller than 3 books. Oh, that's not what you meant by 3 stories. Never mind.
I don't know. I write some really long stories at times.
Yeah.
I am a father. I'm allowed to do dad puns.
It's funny because, yeah, the house is huge, but the people come inside and then they go, wow, this is big. Because for some reason, although the house is like 3 stories tall out, I mean, we're 5,000 square feet. And I don't think that's counting the basement. When they come in and see the rooms, most of the rooms are really big too. They can't believe it, but it's the way it's put together. You can go totally around the first floor, or you can step up and through a door and go from front to back. There's a front staircase, there's the servant staircase, and like I say, it's Carl's office is 4 hallways away from mine. Granted, they're only about 3 feet long. Each uh, three of them are only like 3 feet long, but they're still clear across the house from me. When we exchanged kitty cats a couple of weeks ago, my bestie's husband had been in the house before. He had helped us with our water heater, but he'd never gone deep into the house. And he came upstairs because that's where we had to find Kiddo to put her in the carrier that he had. And he's going, yeah, this is a big house. And I'm like, you haven't even seen the 3rd floor yet. Our furnace man was so proud of himself that by the 3rd year he came to check on our furnace, which is on the 3rd floor, he could find it by himself. Yes, I love my castle.
I would too. I would too. Back when I was in high school, I had a couple of friends come over from they were in the band with me. Um, and then they kept comparing the house my parents had built to a castle, and I'm going, no, it's a split level ranch. Um, because even then, uh, wanted to be an architect.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so st- yeah, and it's not all that damn large. I mean, it's big enough for a husband, a wife, and 3 kids with a half basement. I mean, quite frankly, the barn that Dad and I built is much more impressive because that was out of recycled wood from a lot of um, Civil War era um, farmhouses and uh, tenant farmer houses. And what there was even one that was directly across from the church that Lindsay goes to that we had to be very careful taking apart because the metal nails were in it were the square headed wedge shaped nails. And when you got to the actual frame, it was put together with 2-inch diameter cedar pegs about a foot long. No nails involved. This was this was a very old structure. Um, and we recycled everything we could. That barn was big enough to park a fish and ski boat, a combine, and 3 tractors. And a lot of little equipment that didn't need to be out in the rain, like the grain drill and whatnot, because that thing would have been expensive to repair if it started rusting up. Um, oh, that was one. That was one of the few things that my dad bought. It was actually a a John Deere grain drill, and he bought only Ford tractors. But evidently he researched it, and that grain drill by John Deere was the highest quality thing ever. And we were buying it used. I mean, almost everything we bought for the farm was used, or
Hmm.
we built it ourselves out of scrap metal. Um, yeah, there was a time when we were invaded by army worms, little caterpillars that ate everything in their path. Like, people had the idea that locusts do that. Well, yeah, they more than likely do, but these caterpillars were some nasty little pieces of work. Had
There's
to,
a bunch of beasties that do that stuff.
Hmm.
hmm we had to build a pesticide sprayer, which Dad was able to multi-purpose later on, out of nothing, just scrap metal and whatever Dad could lay his hands on that we could afford. And by God, we did it. The damn thing would spray uh, almost 24 feet wide because it had arms on the back of the tractor that would fold up so you could drive it down the road. But Dad made them so they were the maximum length that was legal to get on the road, which is like 18 feet. Um, and a big tank for the chemicals on front, and a big pump on the PTO drive shaft coming out of the back of the transmission, and it was all he came up with all of it. I I tried to figure out how we could use the hydraulics to open and close the arms rather than use muscle power and pulleys and and not chains, cables. But I didn't know enough engineering, and I couldn't articulate what I was trying to propose. And Dad was, for a machinist, it's really weird. He wasn't that visually oriented when it came to putting pieces of machinery together. Whereas I grew up, when I bought a model car, I didn't look at the instructions. I looked at the exploded diagram. I knew where everything had to go just looking at the exploded diagram. That came in handy working on my cars. Um, you might not have been able to understand or name all the parts, but you show me an exploded diagram, I can put anything together. Um, but this bug sprayer we built turned out to come in handy um, after the army worm invasion was over a year or so later, because um, when you grow soybeans, you have to be really careful about making sure that they get enough nitrogen in the soil that they can absorb it that way. Um, which
I was
is
going to
why
say,
you.
growing up on a farm, it'd be a great thing for using fertilizer for too. As
Oh
long as you
yeah,
just,
yeah,
get it
yeah,
cleaned out so there's no pesticides and crap still in it.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. All you had to do is spray it till it was empty. Refill it with water, drive around on a dirt road and get it shook up, and then spray the tank empty again anywhere, because the pesticides would have been. You put 150 gallons of water in a tank that was empty but had held a mix of pesticides, it's going to dilute pretty freaking good. Um, and Dad designed it all in his head, which, like I said, He wasn't 3D oriented, which is really weird, being he was a machinist, but he always worked from blueprints. So putting this stuff together out of his imagination, he had a lot of fun because it was a challenge to him. And as I said, I thought we would have been able to use a pulley system in the hydraulics, a couple of cylinders that would open and close to whatever extent we could afford, with a cables and pulley system to fold the arms up and unfold them. But I could never articulate it well enough for Dad to get the idea of what I was talking about. And when I sat down and tried to do it as a blueprint, I couldn't get the math to work because I didn't know enough geometry as a teenager. I probably still don't, but I'm pretty sure somebody could have made it work, but it wasn't me. But growing up on a farm, you learn how to build stuff out of whatever you got, whatever you can afford. If you have to buy something new, you have to. If you got scrap metal laying around, you get out the torch and the welder, you make what you need.
Pops was from backwoods Wisconsin. It was the same thing. It's their family. They're loggers. So my dad started logging at like 9 years old.
Mm.
So it's the same principle. Dad rednecked the hell out of everything that he could.
Well, you got to. I mean, not only can you not depend on somebody else to design something commercially available that does what you need it to do, but you damn sure can't afford it. Not if you want to feed a family of 5 and pay the bills.
And depending who's designing it, not if you want to feed a family of 1.
And if you can redneck engineer something, that's always the best solution if you're on a budget.
And it's funny how many people think that when I use the term rednecking, that I'm trying to be derogatory or something like that. I'm like, no, do you understand the engineering feats that these people pull off with very little formal education?
I take it as a compliment, but
they figure out
definitely.
shit that my friends who have engineering degrees would be like, oh, I never thought about doing that.
Never had to figure out how to do something with nothing. That's the real motivation. What can you do with what you got?
And my mom was the same way, but with food. Her parents were during the Great Depression.
Too, yeah.
Her parents were with the Great Depression. It's like 2 saltines and a slice of bologna, and there's like a 3-course meal for 5 people. It's like, how?
Hey, Mom figured out that if you slice up Spam and you fry it with a pineapple slice on top, it turns into something really good. And back when I had to divorce my first wife and declare bankruptcy, and I was living off of about $5 a day, over and above what my bills were each month. I had a big gallon can of roasted peanuts. I was able to afford 2 beef jerkies a day and a quart of grapefruit juice about every 3 days. And my idea of a sandwich was a saltine cracker with mustard spread on it. You'd be amazed at what you can get by with, what you can survive on if you don't have a choice. And that was probably one of the healthiest periods of my life because I didn't have electricity. Had running water, didn't have electricity. So when it got dark, I wasn't about to waste flashlight batteries reading a book and whatnot. Didn't have electricity for a TV. So I was doing just like what my parents and my grandparents did. When it got dark, I went to bed. When the sun come up, I got up. Uh, Probably the healthiest lifestyle I have ever had, despite the lack of variety in the diet. And I've got to say, in an emergency situation, if you got running water and no electricity, it's a hell of a lot easier to survive than having electricity and no running water. You can always build a fire in the barbecue grill to boil water for personal hygiene or food or whatever. Um, if you don't have water, you are really handicapped.
You talking about reading at night and not wanting to waste batteries and stuff like that. I don't know if it was my Aunt Gloria or my mom. It was one of the two. So they were very close in age. And they shared a room and they had bunk beds. I don't remember who had the bottom bunk. My grandfather was very strict. When it slides out, it slides out. And one of them hadn't finished their homework yet. So they were doing their homework by candlelight, but they were doing it in bed so that if my grandfather walked in, they could just drop the corner of the bed and lay down like they're sleeping. So they've got the corner of the mattress pulled up and they've got a candle under the bed so that they can see to do their homework. Apparently, my grandfather was coming down the stairs. They let go. It, went right over the candle. They weren't paying attention to how tall the candle was. So my grandfather, I guess, checked in the room, so everything was fine, walked out, and shortly thereafter, the room caught fire because the mattress caught fire because it came down right on top of the flame.
Yeah, that was my OSHA question of the week. Yeah,
I believe it was my Aunt Gloria that caught everything on fire. Either that or I'm thinking my mom changed the roles in the story so that she wouldn't get. But my mom called herself out on a bunch of stupid stuff she did as a kid too. So
yeah.
my mom wasn't really the type of person to be like, yeah, it was my sister that did it. It wasn't me. My mom was really quick to call herself on her own BS. So it's just you're talking about that just reminding me of my Aunt Gloria or my mom and my Aunt Gloria back when it was a big deal to keep the lights on even if you had electricity.
And that's another reason why I've always recommended to my kids that they buy as many oil lamps as they can afford and bottles of lamp oil because weather happens. And sometimes electricity just vanishes into thin air. And batteries are expensive, especially compared to oil lamps, candles, lamp oil, whatnot. There have been many times when we've had severe weather that knocked out power for 2 days at a time, 3 days at a time. When I was at my parents', it was almost a week at a time, and thank God they had a fireplace built into the house because my mom wound up cooking on a Coleman camp stove and the fireplace. I've been in situations where fireplace was the only heat source in the house, as well as the only way to cook anything. That's where I learned that a broken fencing foil is a great thing to stab through a steak and hold it over the fire in the fireplace. And it don't take long to cook a steak to perfection if you don't get it too close to the flame.
Yeah, the blizzard we had up around this area in '97. We had a generator that was borrowed from my dad's work to get the furnace back online and stuff like that. After a couple of days, when he was finally able to get to work to get the generator to bring the generator home. But when my parents built the house, they built a fireplace, and we had plenty of firewood and everything. So it's, you know, eventually it got a little bit on the damp side as we were going through things so quickly and stuff. But basically, it'd be like, all right, we've got this pile dry, we got this close by the fire so that it will get dry. Couple of damp logs, couple of dry logs, kind of a thing. But we got new toys yesterday that arrived. So, little power bank. Looks almost like a little stun gun. Technically, it is like a little stun gun. It's actually a lighter. Oh, so because we keep running out of, the Misty goes through candles like nothing. She loves burning candles and stuff like that, and I've got no problem with her at the candles and stuff like that. It's just she's going through lighters, so it's not even funny. So now it's something that's rechargeable.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about, okay, well, we can't refill it or anything like that.
You can refill that.
Yeah. Now, I did buy another 4-pack of the actual butane type lighters as well and stuff like that. Just because it's always handy to have both around, just in case the power bank is dead and we're out of electricity, so we can't charge the power bank to charge that to light a candle or something.
Yeah, I've made sure that we have about 15 or 20 oil lamps of different sizes.
Yeah.
And Lindsay buys candles as if they were bags of popcorn. So
all of our hurricane lamps are actually across the street in storage.
Oh yeah, hurricane lamp. I didn't even mention that. I keep one of those in one of the closets. It was hanging up in the barn until we actually had an extended power outage, and I went, this thing does not have to have kerosene in it. It can run off lamp oil as long as it's not one of those frou-frou scented things. And the same kind of lamp oil we use in the oil lamps works really well in a hurricane lantern. I've got one of those camp stoves that uses a bottle of propane. I've got camping gear out the wazoo because primitive camping was
That must
my
be painful.
thing back in the day. Oh no, I just keep it stored well away from my wazoo. Um,
Uncle Rich
uh,
made it funny.
and,
Camping gear coming out of that orifice must. How do you sit? Uncomfortably.
well, you pull it out, you put it in the barn, you go get it when you need it. Um, long-term storage. Um, hell, I've even got a kerosene stove in one of the sheds. Although it's really hard to find a place that sells kerosene nowadays. Used to be every gas station had one a kerosene pump right next to the diesel pump when they were actually separated by a long distance because people are stupid and they wound up trying to put kerosene or diesel fuel in their gasoline cars. I've often thought that they should reshape the nozzles for those things. So maybe a great big square nozzle for diesel fuel would keep people from trying to put diesel in a gas operated car. Um, but no, I've never been able to get that idea adopted by people with money. So,
You didn't go
uh,
on Shark Tank with that, huh?
no, Shark Tank had not been invented at that time. I had a friend who had a Renault Le Car, and she pulled up to a gas pump at a gas station and proceeded to fill the tank with diesel fuel. Ran fine, would not shut off because diesel fuel burns by compression,
Mm-hmm.
not the spark plug. As long as the cylinders were pumping up and down, the diesel fuel was not going to let that engine shut off. Diesel tractors, I know for a fact, have a fuel shutoff that works just about like the old fashioned choke on a gasoline engine. You just pull the darn thing out, fuel flow shuts off, the engine goes crack, 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 stop. The cylinders stop firing because they've got no more fuel going to them to fire. This friend of mine could not figure out why her car would not shut off. So she took it to a garage. They managed to stall the motor out. And then they siphoned a little bit of fuel out of the gas tank and tried to set it on fire. Didn't work very well. And then they go, "Oh, you filled the gas tank with diesel fuel. That's what the problem is. We'll have to pump this out, change the filters, and then refill it with actual gasoline so that you can drive normally again." She was so embarrassed, and it didn't cost all that much, but she learned her lesson. Always check to see whether or not it's the gas nozzle or the diesel nozzle. Um, and kerosene would have been even worse because that's like jet fuel compared to diesel. Matter of fact, a lot of planes run off of kerosene. Um, even more highly refined, but not as highly refined as gasoline. Um, I don't even remember how I know that. That's that's been a long time ago when I learned that one. Never forgot the actual fact, but I did forget um, exactly what circumstance led me to
Hmm.
research that and find it out. But hey, um, okay, folks, we got like 5 minutes left. Um, Thesis, have you got anything
Unless
coming
we
up
want to make
soon?
Carl curse in the morning, then we can go longer.
I'd rather not. Carl cusses me enough for flirting Madonna. No, he
No,
doesn't.
he
I know
doesn't.
he Thesis, you got anything coming up in next week or so that you will want people to watch? You got another Tea House episode coming up in like a week and a half or so?
Yeah, March 2nd. Not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday. And I'm currently working on a short video that will be using a nice piece of music that someone made for me earlier this week. So keep a lookout for that.
Now, wonder who that could be. Um,
I don't know.
Oh yeah, this Saturday. Not making any promises about being here. Depends on how late we stay in Fowler.
yeah,
Depends whether I, yeah.
Indie CD Con is going to be a lot of fun for anybody that's close enough to get to it. I'm not. Thesis isn't.
No.
Uh, Richie depends on his finances.
No, it's
Uh,
not finances. It depends on
How he's feeling.
oh,
it,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The anniversary of the
Finances aren't an issue
unfortunate
right now.
event.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris is coming up from Georgia, and I guess
Lucky
he's got
bastard. I wish I could.
I guess he's
Um,
got gonna have Hallowcon badges with him.
I didn't know that Joe Dog had printed off Hallowcon badges yet.
Well, we didn't know either, but that's what Joe Dog said earlier.
Well, maybe he's got
That's
just a small run of special ones.
for us
Um,
special people.
Indubitably. I will not argue that point whatsoever.
Yeah. If
Um,
I do show up at con, I will have my laptop with me. I will have my 3D scanner with me, because I want to see if we can. Bachman and I both want to see if we can start doing some scans of some of Nick's BSRs to maybe help him mass produce for other cons. Have these cheaper mass produced ones out here, and then have his artisanal homemade ones that he can charge more for.
Hmm.
that is an excellent idea. I never would have thought of that, actually.
And then also scan the templates that he uses for his lob tech now, his lob uh, rule set. I can't remember the proper word for it off the top of my head because I'm really tired. But little sticks and stuff like that, so that you can also print out some accessories to go along with it, so that if you don't have the 4-inch thing, you can buy something that has the 4-inch lob thing. We have numbers on it that will go which directions. Little you know measuring sticks that are so many inches long that goes, okay, you've got this much movement, so you can move all the way up to within this range right here, that kind of a thing,
Uh-huh.
just to make
Yeah.
some things a little bit easier.
That sounds great. I hope everything works out for that because uh, Nick's got some great stuff there and a few extra resources to add to his Big Stompy Robots books and the manual would be incredible for the fans of that. So, um, oh,
It's time to
uh,
say goodnight, Gracie.
Yeah, I was just going to say the next thing I got coming up is let's see, it's already the
Second.
23rd.
Oh,
Um,
that's right.
just because of the time zone. Um, within 8 days, the next issue of Aphelion comes out. I'm already working on the one not only for March but for April. Being retired gives me time to devote to, hey, I can do this now. Um, I've got to remind myself I've got writing to do. I've got stories to finish. Uh, they don't call it a deadline for nothing. I need to get back in the groove, start producing stuff. I've got 10,000 years worth of history on Bethdish to write up because there's only about 200 years worth that have been featured in Spaceport Bar stories and background stuff for the planet. And since I invented the planet and everything on it, I really need to do that uh, before I shuffle off this mortal coil. I want to get as much shit done as I can. Um, Not planning on doing it soon, but accidents do happen. Uh,
Just because it's our plan doesn't mean it's whatever's out there's plan.
hmm
Hmm.
um,
And they've
I,
got more power.
I know that there's a lot of people praying for a full reset due to an incoming big rock, and I'm going. Are you sane? I'm not, but you're worse. Um,
A lot of times looking at humanity, I really wonder why God doesn't rethink his promise on floods. Um,
well, fire was the next promised event, so um, wondering why we gave up asbestos, which it would be really handy to have sometime. But, it's a health hazard, so I understand that. We are now officially 3 minutes over. Um, okay. Thank you all for being here. Thank everybody that has watched live. Thank everybody that will watch the replay later on. Um, Really, the only reason we do this is because it's so much fun to get together and talk. And the fact that other people that aren't here have fun listening to us and watching us have conversations is just gravy on the biscuit. And I will always be grateful for that. Um, it's sincerely, I do appreciate all the comments. When everybody does the usual YouTube like, share, subscribe thing, that's great. It's not like we're trying to get monetized or win anything. It's just the
but
more
if you
people,
do those things, this stuff will show your feed more often, so it is easier for you to find.
yes, and I really will loathe the day when YouTube starts putting commercials in this stuff because I hate commercials on YouTube. But, it's a price that people have to pay because they need to make a living too. Um, One would wish that they would not play a StreamYard video every 30 seconds, but they do. So I've gotten used to it. I don't have to like it, even though I use StreamYard. I love StreamYard. It's just, I wish there was some kind of special exemption we could get from YouTube.
I get hit with a bunch of games that I played once, and I'm like, I'm never going to do it again. I hate this game.
Oh, yeah.
Like Facebook, you can actually go to the ads that show up that you don't want to see and go, I already own this product. They'll stop advertising that to you because you're not going to buy it. You already bought it, kind of a deal. I wish YouTube had that same functionality.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
Google,
all right.
Zuckerberg actually did one thing right. Follow that example.
Yeah, really. That'll be the day when anybody pays attention. Well, it's time for the bedtime story. Thank y'all very much for being here. Hopefully, we'll be able to reconnect tomorrow night in the green room. And Thesis will get a word in edgewise when I shut the fuck up. That'll be the day.
Sometimes you just have to talk over him, Thesis.
Oh, Thesis is a hell of a lot more interesting than I am.
No, I'm really not.
Yes, you really are. There's a whole world of your experiences that I know nothing about, and I would love to learn. And I will be showing up in the tea room as often as I am not taking a nap at the time.
That's how I missed it last time.
I appreciate every single person that ever shows up, because the first 3 or 4 shows was literally one person in the chat, and it's her back there.
Mm-hmm.
I was about ready to take a nap, and that popped up, and I'm like, that's a reason to stay up.
Yeah, really. It's not even that late at night. It's just trying to adjust to being retired. I sometimes make the mistake of watching Simon Whistler videos in the middle of the day and wake up 6 hours later because his voice puts me to sleep.
Well, good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night, everybody. And if we don't see you in the green room tomorrow night, Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing comes on again on Saturday night. Quite late, but still. And on that note, as Chris would say,
go good guys.
Transmission overload. System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.